And so just getting a sense for how the back of the body is resting. The heels, the backs of the legs, the muscles along the spine, the shoulder blades, the backs of the arms, and the back of the head. And just falling into ground, falling into the earth. Noticing the breath. The rise and fall of the belly. Softening the belly as you breathe. So then from here, very gently, just making a transition to roll onto your belly and turning the head to one side or the other. And the arms can be wherever they're most comfortable. So down by your sides, or maybe you want them out. Just softening the front of the body into earth. Softening the front of the body. And noticing where your face touches the ground, where you feel the majority of the weight falling. And as you make note about where the face touches the ground, Seeing if you can find ease in the jaw, in the throat. Allow the breastbone to soften, the collarbones to broaden. And then when you're ready, gently turning the head to the other side. And settling there. Noticing where the face touches the ground and where you feel the most pressure on the face. And then a conscious softening of the front body, like a melting, spreading of the front body. Releasing across the front of the pelvis, hip to hip. Relaxing the thighs, the lower legs, and the feet. And then in your own time, turning the head back to the first side. And just noticing if anything has shifted from when you were here last. Is a new part of the face touching? Breathing into all the spaces that you can find. Breathing into the back of the body. And then finally, when you're ready, lifting the head and turning it to the second side for the second time. Noticing what's changed from when you were here last. So then when you're ready, Claire, we'll just move into Sphinx. So bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders. And allowing the head to fall. So there's a softening of chin to chest. So softening the front of the body grounding and releasing towards earth. One option would be to support the head with something. You could use a block or a blanket. maybe you'd rather just let the head hang. Allowing the eyes to soften, the jaw to soften. The belly to soften. Softening the fingers and softening the feet. Last minute here, knowing that it's always an option to come all the way down and just rest your forehead on your hands. Then when you're ready, slowly making your way up to sitting. We'll take butterfly. So the soles of the feet come together. Legs quite far away from the body. Support under the knees if you want it. And then sitting up and sitting down. And then very gently, just slowly making your way forwards. So maybe coming forwards from the hips first. Maybe the hands can come to the ankles or to the ground. And then millimeter by millimeter, seeking the first edge. But just watching the sensations that are arising in the body. Letting the head and the neck release. So butterfly is a nice pose for checking in, seeing how things are. And Norman Blair writes about the edge. He says, there's many ways to describe the practice of Yin Yoga. Sarah Powers, who is a Yin teacher in the US, writes, unhurried postures, unstained by striving. Another Yin teacher, Bernie Clark, talks about the Goldilocks Principle. Goldilocks comes into the house where there are 3 beds. One bed too hard, one too soft, and one just right. So neither too hard nor too soft. In Yin Yoga, that is the way to sustain stillness. The optimum for health is neither too much nor too little. Norman talks about the practice being like the middle way between comfort and challenge. From challenge can come change. From comfort, there can be ease. But too much challenge, and we can be broken, depleted, not good enough. Too much comfort, and we can be passive, complacent, fragile. If it is too challenging, then it becomes a struggle to stay in the shape. If it is too comfortable, we can lose interest and our focus fades. In the middle way, there are possibilities of becoming more pliable, and this helps to develop resilience. So gradually we come towards the edge, that place where we can stay. Then we could slightly ease off from the edge, and we settle and study the sensations, lessening our ambitions to go deeper. Then we may explore possibilities of coming forwards or releasing away from the edge. So when you're ready, slowly rising up, taking your time. You may wish to hug the knees, or you might want to lean back away from the legs. And so then coming to lying on your back. And we'll set up Banana Asana. So drawing one shoulder down towards the same hip. The whole back stays flush to ground. The heel can move towards the edge of the mat. The other heel can follow. You can cross the ankles if that feels comfortable. Take the arms above the head if that feels comfortable. And then finding a place for the head. And so conscious softening of the back body now. And easing through the tailbone. And broadening of the sacrum. A lengthening of one side of the body. Sense of open lungs, open chest. With the collarbones able to move away from each other, broadening across the front of the chest. Just softening at the base of the throat. And checking the jaw, the tongue, and the chin are all softening. So the jaw, the tongue, and the chin consciously being released. Finding a sense of ease. And as you stay, maybe fingers can soften. Maybe toes can soften. Just here, just breathing. Just this body, just breathing. And then very gently unwinding. Take your time, finding midline. So you might need to look down the body. Pubic bone, navel, breastbone, throat, crown of head. Take a couple breaths on midline. And then setting up the other side. So noticing how is this side different from the first side. And Norman writes about letting go. He says, letting go can be an informing guideline in Yin Yoga. Letting go of wanting to be better. Letting go of wanting to be somewhere else. Letting go of planning tomorrow. Letting go of that inner dialogue. Letting go of tension around the area of sensation. Letting go of the straining shoulders. Letting go of what we think we're supposed to do. Letting go of impressing and improving. letting go of frowns and forcing, letting go of ambition and aggression, letting go of contrasting and comparing, letting go of holding, and letting go of trying to control, letting go of our closed mind. And in this letting go, there can be a loosening of the rigid views that are an enemy to intimacy. Real letting go is learned through the realization of the cost of holding on and being resistant to flow. Much letting go can enable us to be here as we actually are, in an experience of authenticity. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to get, no one to be, nothing to have. In this letting go, there can be a deep experience of release, unwinding, unclenching, unpacking, releasing, undoing. So from here, gently unwinding and just finding midline, looking down the body if you need to. And then bending the knees and hugging the knees. So this simple shape, flexion in the hip, flexion in the knees. Sometimes it's helpful to put a bolster under the pelvis, or maybe a little cushion or a rolled blanket. It helps set the forward bending pattern in the body. So it just holds the pelvis in that forward fold. You can hold the legs wherever feels good, behind the knees or around the knees. Softening through the back of the body. So Norman gives two other informing guidelines for this practice. The first is gentleness, or what might be called loving kindness. And this is a great challenge for many of us, to practice with kindness, to be gentle in how we practice, to ensure that we are not forcing beyond our natural limits or competitively striving. Gentleness is the key. To ensure that gentleness is not collapsing into too much comfort, we need to apply a little effort. It's a gentle application of effort, and it's indicated by the quality of our breath and the ability to stay in the shapes for prolonged periods of time. So this idea that the breath is a barometer. How is the breathing? Is there effort in the breath? And the last informing guideline is patience. To take our time in this practice, to be liberated from the hurrying here and there that so many of us are familiar with. Yin is a great practice for emphasizing patience simply because we spend so much time in each pose. Becoming patient in an impatient world is a very useful skill. And the practice of patience can both encourage and arise from our ability to be kind. Infinite patience brings immediate results. Infinite patience brings immediate results. Softening here. So from here, just releasing the feet to stand on the floor, keeping the knees bent, and setting up eye of the needle. So if you bring your right leg into full flexion, and then externally rotate your right hip, bringing the ankle across the left thigh. So you can either stay like this, or you can thread the needle by bringing your right hand through that triangular space between the legs, and your left hand around the outer edge of the left thigh, and then clasping the hands. If that brings any pain in the knee, then just release the foot back to the floor. Alternatively, you could put a bolster or a block underneath your left foot, and that will still give you a bit of leverage in the hip joint. It's sort of a middle ground between the floor and threading the needle. You can choose what you do with the arms. Maybe the arms can open wide from the sides, or you may want to take the arms overhead if you're not threading the needle. So noticing how the back of the pelvis rests on ground in this asymmetrical shape. Noticing how the body takes support from earth through the shoulder blades. How is the back of the body releasing? And so there's an opening of the back of the body, a sense of receiving support. Finding ease. Is there any place that can soften? And is there another place that could soften? Maybe fingers, maybe face. Maybe the mind could soften. Maybe the breath could soften. So layers and layers of softening. Layers and layers of letting go. So keeping your legs in that shape, letting both knees fall over to the right side. So keep your right ankle on top of your left thigh and let both legs fall to the right. You might want to put something, a bolster under your right knee or a cushion under your right knee, or you could just let it hang. So what the right foot is doing is providing a gentle weight on the left thigh so that the whole psoas and the whole front of that hip flexor on the left side can be opened. Play around with the location of your left foot. So the closer your left foot comes towards your left buttock, the more involved I feel that through the QL and through the hip flexor on the left side. So you can regulate sensation by playing around with the positioning of this left foot. And also if you take the arms overhead, you might notice an increase in sensation again through the psoas on the left side. Finding a comfortable place for the head to rest. We have rotation through the spine, a little bit of hyperextension through the spine. One leg externally rotating, the other leg medially rotating. Softening in this shape, finding ease. It's a variation of a reclining twist. So again, observing the breath. Your relationship to gravity. And the sensations arising in the body. And in your own time, coming back to midline, taking both feet to the floor. Take a moment or two to check in with how the back of the body is resting. And any differences that you feel between right and left sides. And then in your own time, bringing that left knee and left hip into full flexion. Externally rotating the left hip so that you can bring the left ankle on top of the right thigh. And so either staying here with the foot on the floor, or you can put the right foot on a bolster or a block, or you might want to thread the needle, left arm coming between the legs, right arm coming along the lateral side of the right thigh. So deciding what's best, what you can sustain. Softening the feet, the toes. If you're not threading the needle, choosing a space for the arms. Noticing how the back of the pelvis rests. How the asymmetry in the legs affects the back of the sacrum. How the asymmetry in the legs affect how the muscles along the spine are resting. So just making note. Finding ease. And then finding stillness. If you've had the needle threaded, removing your hands, but keeping the legs as they are, so that the knees, both knees, can fall now to the left side of the body. So both knees falling left. You can put some support underneath that left leg if you need it. Otherwise, it's the left foot that is providing a gentle weight to this right leg. So there's a sense of stretching through the quadricep fibers, stretching across that hip flexor, getting into the psoas. If you choose to take the right arm above the head, you might notice an increase in sensation down through that right side of the body. But again, just a careful playing of the edges here. Careful playing of the edges. And there's a piece of writing by Ty Powers, who is Sarah Powers' husband. And he says that yoga is the practice of opening doors, both on the physical and the energetic level, and also on the psychological and on the heart level. Yoga is a path that helps us recognize the human habit of shutting doors as a basic premise for how we operate. Our basic resistance to life, our stubbornness. But yoga gives us another choice, and one door leads to the next. At first, we may just go through the physical door. Yet, at the end of that door, there will be another that leads us a little further to something more. Yoga opens doors. Yoga opens doors. Just here, just breathing. Just this moment, just breathing. So very gently making your way back to midline. Just standing both feet on the ground. And so if you have a rolled blanket or a bolster, we'll take supported bridge, or you can use a block underneath the sacrum so that the sacrum is lifted and the lumbar spine is free hanging. It's like placing the sacrum on a little shelf. A block allows you to access different heights. Straightening the legs allows you to get into the hip flexors a little bit. But if you find that a bit too intense on the lumbar spine, then you may wish to bend the knees and take everything a bit lower. Supported bridge. Choose where you place the hands. The hands can go overhead or up to the sides. So as you stay noticing the breath, perhaps the belly can soften as you breathe. So then from here, finding your way into Shavasana. If you're using a bolster, it can be rolled down under the knees. Maybe you'd like something underneath your head. or something over the eyes. If you're chilly, maybe a light blanket over the body. And just beginning to settle now. So earlier I read that excerpt from Norman Blair's book about letting go as a guiding principle. Brené Brown has her own list of things to let go of, which I think is a lovely list. So as you begin to settle, I'll just read you those 10 things. It's a list of 10 she gives. The first one is letting go of what people think and cultivating authenticity. The second is letting go of perfectionism and cultivating self-compassion. The third is letting go of numbing and powerlessness and cultivating a resilient spirit. The fourth is letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark and cultivating gratitude and joy. The fifth is letting go of the need for certainty and cultivating intuition. Six is letting go of comparison and cultivating creativity. And seventh is letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and cultivating play and rest. 8 is letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle and cultivating calm and stillness. 9 is letting go of self-doubt and supposed to, and cultivating meaningful work. And the last is letting go of being cool and always in control, and cultivating laughter, song, and dance. So as you rest, just noticing the breath. Coming back to the awareness of the breathing, the filling and emptying of the lungs. And gently beginning to lengthen the exhalation. Allowing the inhale to become full and deep. And when the breath feels full, and finding some small movements, fingers, toes can move, whatever feels good. And then in your own time, just making your way up to sitting.